Hey everybody, how y'all doing? Welcome to the Blue Chip Podcast by fans for fans. This is your host Cody Potter. How we doing? We're going to go over our Senior Bowl recap, the winners, losers, everything like that. It was a great week, man. Honestly, a great week of practice. A lot of the players that I expected to shine did. Not patting myself on the back. Trust me, it's just. I mean, these players are so talented. A lot of really, really good players, man. The type of guys that you're looking for, type of mental makeup and things like that. That's why they're at this game. That's why they do this thing, man. And it's just it's one of the best scouting platforms that they have, man. Looking at the guys, Caleb Banks, I didn't think had the best game. He's physically dominant. We all know what he is. Didn't play this year. We all know the talent. He was one of the guys that I would say was probably a loser. I mean, as far as just the expectations coming in, the talent that you've seen him shine and flash throughout his career at Florida. He's a guy that I was expecting to see a little bit more from, especially for the defensive tackles that were there. Lee Hunter did the exact opposite. I mean, he definitely shined, looked really, really good. Zion Johnson is definitely a winner. The Missouri edge, just flash, man. Had a fumble recovery, had a forced fumble in the game, a sack. The Duke defensive edge, the Western Kentucky defensive edge, Tucker. Man, like I said, the edge class, LT Overton, didn't have the best week of practice. Had a sack in the game. I mean, just a complete bull rush type thing. And that's not even just going over, Becker's, the Oregon linebacker, man. I felt like Bryce Becker, man. He tore it up, man. He looked really, really good in that game. For as bad as the national team's offense was looking, man, he was flying around the field, man. He was constantly in on like just about every tackle, or setting himself up, assisting the tackle and things like that, just holding everybody, turning them back onto the inside of the field, not letting penetration to the sideline to sideline. He really shined and flashed in that regard. Derek Moore, man. Derek Moore had himself a day. These are a lot of guys that I've talked a lot about previously. That's why I'm mentioning them now, because they're probably not going to get as much shine going through this. Keon Black, man, this guy is a stud. He's a stud running back, man. Whatever round he goes in, second, first, which probably won't happen in the first, but second, third round, you're going to get yourself a really, really, really good player. The reason that I mentioned the Duke edge, and then the Tucker, the Western Kentucky edge. Man, this edge class is loaded. Like I said, you're going to get a guy in the fourth, fifth, sixth round. Zion Young, man, wherever he goes, second round probably. He has the build to be a first round player. 6'6", super dynamically explosive, plays with his hair on fire. I mean, just everything you want to see from the edge position, man. You saw it this week. I mean, the roster lineup for the edge position was loaded, and they did not disappoint, man. Honestly, it's the deepest position in the draft. It was the deepest position at the Senior Bowl. What I did really like seeing was the offensive line, man. When you look at these drills, the drills that are playing in the background, that is designed for the defense, man. Like, one-on-one, they're coming for the pass set, but when in the game situation came around, you really, really got to see the offensive line step up, especially the Arizona State offensive tackle, the right tackle, man. Big body, man. Just everything you want from that position. The Iowa offensive tackle, he played right tackle in the game. I think he's more of a guard. He's gonna get himself. He made himself some money as well. The biggest thing that you saw was the discrepancy of the offensive line moving backwards in the one-on-one drills, where these edges look really good. These edges look really good, and then you got into the game, you got to see from all the work that has been going on in the week when the offensive line got to move forward in the run game, man. You got to see how good the American team really, really controlled the line of scrimmage on both sides of the ball, offense and defense, man. You really got to see these guys shine. Some of these guys really solidified themselves as first-round players. TJ Parker had a hell of a week. That was a guy you expected to shine. Rashawn Penny, the guy that just went through the drill right there, the Michigan interior nose. This guy, he's a force, man. He was disruptive all week long. He was disruptive in the game. Really came up, made some plays. I think he caused a fumble. The fumble that Zion Young ended up recovering. And again, I mean, we've talked about Lee Hunter. We all know what David Bailey's going to be in the NFL. This dude's going to go top 5. I don't think he's even going to be there for the Commanders, but if he was, I think that's a player that's definitely going to be on their board that you have to consider. Bud Clark, good game, demonstrated tackles, never got himself out of position, played more free safety, which is something that I think he can do. I think he's just a box safety. Like in the NFL, I think his best skill set is going to be accentuated from the box, where he can man up against tight ends. I think he has elite level movement skills when it comes to the box safety position, and his man coverage ability demonstrated in the game playing free safety, that he can also impact the game and hold his responsibilities in the zone, come up, be the last line of defense on the defense. One play I saw him just drop his shoulder. I think I would like to see him be a little bit more consistent just wrapping up the tackler, but he demonstrates that all season long on tape, so it's not something I worry about him for, but it is something that you want to see him clean up. These NFL coaches, they'll get that coming out. Linebacker play in the Senior Bowl was very, very good. Whether it was Heineke, like I said, I've already talked about Betcher. We all know what Sonny Styles is. Sonny Styles is definitely a really, really good player. Wasn't at the Senior Bowl, but just, he's going to be a guy that goes probably in the top 10 in this NFL draft. Everybody knows Arvell Reese, the hybrid player, whether he's going to play edge or off-ball linebacker. There's a lot of comps to him to Micah Parsons, and there's one thing I want to caution everybody, man, because I love hybrid football players, guys that can do both. The biggest thing you got to understand about hybrid players is, do they flash something great at any of the levels that they do? Like, if we played Arvell Reese at off-ball linebacker, is he a super, super disruptive player at off-ball linebacker? Or if I play him at edge, has he demonstrated that he can be a super, super disruptive player from the edge position? What is funny about this is kind of, as a Commanders fan, I can kind of relate it to this. Arvell Reese is going to go top 3. The physical traits that he has, and when I'm making this comp because this is more what I'm seeing, and this is the cautionary tale that I try to give about hybrid football players. I mean, we've saw it with Isaiah Simmons. Super, super good in college. Nothing really dynamic at either level. Whether you're playing Arvell Reese at off-ball linebacker, did you see the elite level off-ball linebacker traits? When we watch Micah Parsons, this is why I don't like Micah Parsons' comp for Arvell Reese. Again, two different, completely physical statures. I mean, Arvell Reese is a huge human being, and he's super big. Like, he has the height, weight, speed of an edge player. He has the movement skills of an off-ball linebacker. That's why he's going to go top 3. What I see with Arvell Reese on tape is, I don't see that, they play him basically as an outside linebacker because Sonny Styles is he's the green dot. So, okay, you got Arvell Reese playing the off-ball linebacker. When I watch him at off-ball linebacker, do I see that Navarro Bowman? Do I see that, that second linebacker playing next to that great linebacker, from the middle who's the green dot? Do I see that guy complement him in that aspect? Well, if you go back and you watch the Indiana game, you go back and watch the Miami game, then you would say, why is Arvell Reese going to get drafted in the top 3? This is the cautionary tale that I give you is I don't think he's the dynamic impact player from the off-ball linebacker position. I think he's more of an edge. Okay, so let's start factoring in the edge production and things like that. When I watch him line up over on the ball, with his hand in the dirt, things like that, or when I watch him rush from the off-ball linebacker position, yes, he does look similar to Micah Parsons, but again, that's schematic. When he's rushing from the off-ball linebacker, that's a play call. That's not something that you're going to do down in, down out, unless you're playing for Brian Flores, blitzing 50% of the packages or dropping back in 50% of the packages. This is where I'm giving you the cautionary tale about Arvell Reese. This is going to very much matter where Arvell Reese goes in the NFL draft. And going in the top 3, if you're looking at Arvell Reese, is he going to be picked in the top 3 to the Jets? If he goes to the Jets, I very, very much cautiously worry about what his impact is going to be if he goes to the Jets. Now that we have Durante Jones, there's a lot of questions around this defense, but stylistically, in the history of Micah Parsons was an elite level off-ball linebacker prospect who also was very, very elite when he stylistically or schematically rushed the passer. Dan Quinn was the perfect coach for what Micah Parsons' skill set was coming in, but he also had the elite level flashes at Penn State. The reason I'm not comping these two players together is because, and the comp that I'm actually making for him is another player that's in Washington right now, and that's Frankie Louvu. Frankie Louvu is a really, really good off-ball linebacker. We put him at edge this year to try to mask some of our deficiencies on defense, and what you lost from the production standpoint of the defense, where you really saw this defense lack, was missing Frankie Louvu at the off-ball linebacker spot. Not great production playing at the edge position. He's definitely undersized compared to Arvell Reese. So, you expected a little bit of lack because he doesn't have the length and the overall, twitch and things like that, and the get off and the pass rush, arsenal of tools, the spin move or the hand up and, strength of power and things like that, spin moves and all that. Well, the reason I'm saying Frankie Louvu is because what I see from Arvell Reese almost reminds me of what Frankie Louvu is. I see a guy that can impact the play from the off-ball linebacker position. He needs that true green dot player, which is what Arvell Reese demonstrated at Ohio State, is that he can make the impact, but he needs to be beside that guy, and I think he is a second-level player, which is why I'm not as high on him as most of these mocks are, because to me, he's not NaVorro Bowman. Like, if I was going to play him solely at off-ball linebacker, he is not NaVorro Bowman in that way. I don't think can he run sideline to sideline? He does. Is he blowing things up, tackles for loss, blah, blah, blah? Yes, of course he is. But a lot of those plays that I was seeing are against teams like Northwestern and the lower level teams in the Big Ten. Not saying that doesn't translate to the NFL, but when I watch him against Indiana and when I watch him against Miami, teams that are physical, that are going to be more NFL, I mean, they have more NFL talent throughout their roster, whether it's on the O-line, whether it's at running back, quarterback, things like that. Fernando Mendoza, Black, and like the Elijah Surratt and all these guys. Again, there's more NFL talent on Indiana. There's more NFL talent on Miami University. So when Ohio State went up against some guys, those were the games where you wanted to see Arvell Reese look more like NaVorro Bowman playing from that off-ball linebacker spot. We didn't get to see that. We didn't see that impact. You saw him running sideline to sideline, but you also saw him having issues getting off blocks in the run game. Then you also saw him not being a true disruptive force in the pass rush department. It's not saying he didn't have an impact. It's not saying he didn't, disrupt the play or move a quarterback off the spot, but he wasn't getting home. And when you're not seeing him get home or getting his hand on the ball or getting his hand on the quarterback to really, really disrupt the play to almost cause an interception or things like that, those are the concerns that I have with him moving forward. Again, the skill set is there. You see it. You see him flashing. You see what he can be. But I'm saying it is going to be very, very important for him to go to the right system, the right type of coach, the coach that's going to maximize him to the best of his abilities. It's going to move him around and not just put him into a box, because if you try to make him NaVorro Bowman, that's going to take a couple years for him to develop that elite level speed, elite level processing ability and block shedding ability for the run game, which I don't think he has that yet. And then if I put him at pure DN, again, you're doing him a disservice because he doesn't have the complete arsenal of weapons, just like what you were seeing with Frankie Louvu this year and things like that. It would have to be developed. So again, I caution the Arvell Reese pick, not because the talent isn't there. You're going to see him flash. You're going to see him have games where he just goes off because he's feeling, he's clicking. Maybe he's not going against a Laramie Tunsil that week or a Penny Sewell or somebody like that. Maybe he's going against, a top 15 left tackle. He's going to excel a little bit more if he was playing from the edge position, or if he's playing, against an elite level run blocking team, whether, again, the Lions or somebody like that, a team that's going to prioritize the run. Is he going to be able to get off the blocks? He's not going to have that as good of a week against a team like that as he's going to have against a team like maybe the Raiders, who, just have trouble, at the line of scrimmage and things like that, getting push and getting to the second level and creating for, Ashton Jenney to keep him clean. 4 or 5 yards down the field before contact. They definitely struggled in that last year. I expect them to make a move in the offensive line with their second pick. They're obviously going Fernando Mendoza, which is the right pick for the for the Las Vegas Raiders. And again, but back to the Senior Bowl. It's just something I wanted to kind of comment about Arvell Reese. It's a little bit of a cautionary tale that I'm seeing because I do love hybrid players. Usually Arvell Reese would be number one on my board because of the hybrid makeup, the way that you can use to attack him. But now that I've gotten a little bit further into my development as far as scouting these hybrid players and seeing where they hit or where they miss, Jalen Petrie was a guy that I had a blue chip grade on. He ended up becoming that blue level, constant red, blue level flashes for that Houston Texans defense. But again, Houston has really, really accumulated talent, whether it's Will Anderson and first and second and third level players. They got their true green dot. Jalen Petrie is allowed to, kind of play that third, fourth linebacker position, that hybrid safety kind of player. But again, they've accentuated that, and he's with a coordinator and a head coach that accentuates the way to best utilize his talents. Isaiah Simmons went to New York. They played him at safety. He flashed. Teams learned how to attack that position. They started putting him at linebacker. He was struggling. They put him back at safety. He was struggling because, again, teams figured out where he was weak at, and they attacked that. Whether it was zone or whether it was a tight end running outs when they put him in man coverage, they learned how to attack Isaiah Simmons' weaknesses. These are the things that are going to happen to Arvell Reese as he continues to develop as a player. So again, it's just something that I wanted to say because I'm usually always all in on these hybrid players, and I still am. Love Arvell Reese's skill set. Would I be mad if the Commanders picked him? Hell no, because Dan Quinn has shown an ability to maximize the players that we've had, whether it is Dorrance Armstrong or whatever. You can't say we've had elite level edges, but the production that we've gotten from the edges from a pass rushing department, whether it be Dante Fowler Jr., Von Miller getting 9 sacks last year, or, Dorrance Armstrong having 5.5 sacks in 7 games, we're showing that we can scheme it up for the sacks. But again, that's the difference between Micah Parsons and that level player. If you're drafting Arvell Reese in the top 5, then you're hoping by year 2, definitely year 3, that it's no longer scheme. It is, this dude is making this impact from this position. That's what he's going to be, and he's going to be dynamic at it. You got to figure out which position he's going to be the best at, whether it is edge. He's predominantly going to play edge, and then you scheme him to linebacker, or you're going to play him predominantly a linebacker and then scheme him to edge as a diversified piece. And that's the biggest question. That's going to be the biggest piece to Arvell Reese being an elite level defender in the NFL, and that's what I think. Every defensive coordinator is going to look at it and say, man, I want that guy. I want that guy. That's why he's going to go top 3. But as we all know, there's a lot of defensive coordinators that are going to want that guy. There's only a few defensive coordinators that are going to maximize that guy. And we see it year in and year out. And that's why we have busts, or we call them busts, and they're not even busts. They're just not in the right scheme. They go to another team with better coaching and things like that put them in a better position for what they are, and then they excel. Sam Darnold. I mean, it is what it is. These players have to go to the right fit for their team, which is why I'm so high on, Ruben Bain Jr. this year. Like, I think if I'm looking at the Commanders defense and I'm looking at this team as a whole, what is the biggest weakness at this team? You could say it's definitely off-ball linebacker, for everything that's great about Bobby Wagner. Bobby Wagner is not the player that he was, but he was still a very impactful player. But you saw the holes in the defense as Frankie Louvu was being asked to be a pass rusher more. You saw Bobby Wagner struggling to get sideline to sideline. Sonny Styles definitely would alleviate a lot of those ills, but we also don't have the guys up front to keep the linebackers clean right now. That's why Ruben Bain, a power edge. I feel like a power edge is the biggest need on this team right now. A guy that not only gets sacks on the quarterback, but is so disruptive and gets a ton of tackles for loss in the run, is going to set the edge on every play, no matter what it is. Whether it is a pass rush play or it is a run play, he's not going to run himself out of the play because he's so powerful. He knows how to hold his ground and use his leverage in his body, even though he is a little shorter arm guy. He knows how to maximize that leverage, and that power that he has is just a different level. We saw J.J. Watt, which is a little bit different athlete. J.J. Watt was 6'6", Ruben Bain Jr. is 6'3". That's why I've comped him as to what Aaron Donald was coming out, but again, we're playing different positions, but you don't see this type of power usually coming from the edge position. I mean, Myles Garrett is a 1-of-1, but Myles Garrett is also 6'6". That's why Ruben Bain Jr. is not grading out Myles Garrett wise. So again, when I say comps, it's more to the skill set, it's more to the prospect, the player that's coming out. I'm not comping it to the 10-time All-Pro, whatever it is. I'm not comping them to that. No comp that I ever make is that. Malachi Fields, the Notre Dame wide receiver, man. This guy made himself some money this week. I don't know where he goes. I think the production is definitely going to be a question mark, but then you're going to see the height, weight, speed. He's got long speed. That's going to be the thing with Malachi Fields. He doesn't necessarily separate, but he uses his body. He doesn't extend his arms at the catch point or anything like that to draw fouls, but you can definitely see as he's running down the field, he's always keeping that arm back, kind of keeping that separation with his arm without pushing off on the cornerbacks. That's going to be something that we're going to have to continue to watch. We've saw guys like A.J. Brown, we see guys like DeAndre Hopkins who don't have that elite level long speed down the field, but they use that physical presence. They kind of arm the cornerback off of them as they're running down the field. They're tracking the ball, and then last second they put their hands up without pushing off and creating the separation with the push off. We're gonna see if Malachi Fields does excel to his ceiling. Malachi Fields, that's how it's going to look. It's going to be him bodying guys down the field and then him winning at the catch point. Definitely made himself some money this week. His tracking the ball in practice over the head. You just see a guy that he wins. He wins. He can play in the NFL. He was doing it against first round cornerbacks. Chandler Rivers, the cornerback from Duke, another 5'9" guy, man. I love these 5'9" guys. I love how 5'9" cornerbacks move. I love their attitude because they're smaller guys. They put their head in. They tackle. Whether it's Isaiah Pons, whether it's Chandler Rivers, Mikey Samerstill has been a guy that I've been very, very high on. Last year my favorite player in the draft was the cornerback that the Denver Broncos drafted. I also like Maxwell Harrison, who's got a little bit of feist to him, a 5'10" guy again like that. Like I love these cornerbacks just because of the edge and the contentment they play with. Would that be the best thing for the Commanders moving forward? Probably not, which is a reason why I had kind of highlighted Ephesians Prysock, a little bit bigger guy, a guy that, you'll have Trey Amos, who has what I think is elite level coverage ability, whether it's an off zone or man coverage. I think Trey Amos is our number one moving forward. I think Ephesians Prysock, being a 6'2" and like 7'8", so a 6'3" player, 6'3" build, long, lanky, being able to play with his eyes, kind of spied on the quarterback, and Mikey Samerstill being married to the slot position at that point. I like that. Is that going to be something that we're going to be able to do? I don't know. I mean, you're talking about round one, if we're going to edge, whether it's Ruben Bain Jr., the guy that they love, Zion. There's going to be a lot of options. The pick is going to be what it's going to be, but moving forward, are they going to end up maybe going kind of off script and going a wide receiver or going cornerback, even though they've already invested in those positions kind of heavily in their first two drafts, knowing that this defense needs it? I would kind of question that. I think if we were going defensive back with our second pick in the third round, as we currently have, without trading back in the first round, I think it would be more safety. If you're looking at our visits from the Senior Bowl, the Shrine Game, and things like that, of course we're meeting with corners. Of course we're meeting with offensive tackles. But when you're looking at the long list, it's edge rushers, linebackers, and safeties. Those are the three positions that we are meeting with the most. Of course, we're also meeting with a lot of running backs and things like that. I think running back is a position that they also want to add another element to. You just know they are. Looking at Austin Eckler and what he was going to be, what he was supposed to be, the impact that he has and the calming demeanor that he gave you. We saw Ja'Cory Cross-Merritt have a really, really good rookie season, especially for being a 7th-round pick. Chris Rodriguez really took his game to a different level this year, but again, there's a different element that Austin Eckler was going to give you. You can tell by the visits that they are looking for a player that's going to be that. Is it probably going to be another later round pick? More than likely, if it was in the draft, I would say that's definitely the route that is going to go. It would be a later pick than that, unless you're in the third round and you're staring at like a fringe first-round player. Maybe a Keon Black. Maybe that's something that you look to address. Maybe the Missouri or anyway, the running back there. again, it's about creating value. I think if we were going to go running back, I think it's going to be more of a veteran player, whether it be a Travis Etienne, a Breece Hall if he's not franchised. I think that's going to be a little bit more of the direction that they go. A player who's still young, still 25, 26, who still has some gas, some gas and some miles left on the tires. But going to cost you a little bit more for the running back position. But the running back position for veteran, the cap figure is not relatively high compared to the other positions like wide receiver, edge, offensive line, things like that. We have money to spend. I think we're going to want a more instant impact as far as that goes, and they're going to be a little bit more willing to spend money at that position. I've mentioned Alec Pierce here a couple times. The reason I'm kind of mentioning Malachi Fields is Alec Pierce didn't have elite level speed, but he separated at the catch point, and he does it very kind of similarly to the way that Malachi Fields does it. Malachi Fields, like I said, he has long speed, but it's not like elite quick twitch. He's not separating at an elite clip, almost in the DK Metcalf thing, where DK Metcalf is fast and he's fast over the top, but it's long speed, it's build up speed. It takes a little bit to get there. Then he's so physical at the catch point that he wins his routes like that. That's how Malachi Fields wins. Alec Pierce is kind of similar to that. I think you need that outside of Terry McLaurin for this team if you really want to maximize what Jaden Daniels is. You can't lose Terry McLaurin and then that be your only down the field weapon. Jaden Daniels is an attacking quarterback, and his best attribute is his deep ball. So you need somebody that can pick up that slack. If you lose Terry for a week or two, or if you signed Alec Pierce and you lost Alec Pierce for a week or two, you still have Terry McLaurin and the threat of the deep ball over the top. You lose Terry McLaurin for a couple weeks, you have a couple guys behind him, then you can scheme up the underneath catches and the third downs and the things like that. So again, it's about having a deep roster and things like that, and that's what this Senior Bowl was all about. There's a ton of guys that you just saw really stand out. Cornerbacks, safeties, Bud Clark, guys that I've mentioned all throughout the week. The offensive line play ended up being really, really good, especially in the run game moving forward, which is what I had really saw over the course of the year from a lot of these offensive linemen that I had graded. I think there's some pass blocking questions for a lot of these offensive linemen, which is why I said there's a big tier fall. There's like a 2-tier fall off between the first 3 or 4, then the second, 5, 6, 7, and then the tier after that. I think there's a lot of pass blocking, questions that are going to, it's just a development trait. It's going to take them a little time to, kind of acclimate to the talent level in the NFL and get those things cleaned up. But there are guys that have definitely demonstrated the ability or, the technical soundness that they can do it. And they have, all the height and weight and the measurables and things that you look for. They just need to be refined. So again, man, the Senior Bowl is a big success for me, man. I'm going to probably watch it about 3 more times and really continue to lock in my draft grades for certain guys. These were the guys that really stood out the most. It was nice to see Garrett Nussmeier spinning that ball in that wind. You could just tell it was different from all the other quarterbacks that were there, whether it was Diego Pavia, whether it was Sawyer Robertson from Baylor. That was a guy that I thought would do a little bit better in this scene. But the wind was definitely impactful. You could definitely see balls like falling flat, like as they got into a certain point of the wind, when they were throwing at a certain level, the intermediate to long range passes were pretty much ineffective after like the first hour of the game. And again, that's a different arm talent level that Garrett Nussmeier has compared to every other prospect that was at this game. And just to see Garrett Nussmeier healthy, be able to have that type of week, build off of that week with the production that he had in the game, just looking super efficient, and the run game was working. Everything off of the run game was working. I mean, you just saw the level of control that Garrett Nussmeier gives you. I'm very, very happy for him because he's that level player. I think he is a starter in the NFL. I think he has starter level upside. He's got to stay healthy. He's got to learn how to protect himself. Is he elite level athlete? No, he's not the tallest guy in the world. He's definitely not Fernando Mendoza. But in this class, Garrett Nussmeier made himself some money. And honestly, he's always kind of been that guy. I was just very happy to see him after the season that LSU had. It was nice to see him be able to hit that corner route to, his receiver that has basically played in every All-Star game this year, which honestly, credit to him. Playing 4 games in 4 weeks is, pretty awesome for a guy who, just got invited to the American Bowl, the Hulu Bowl, and then, to play in all 4 of them and then come here and have an impact in this game. And we already know his return level ability. He kind of made himself some money, man. So it's, again, for a guy that didn't have the elite level production at LSU, for the various reasons that we said, Garrett Nussmeier being hurt and just the offensive line play being bad at LSU, it was nice to see these LSU guys come out here and have an impact and do the things that they did, whether it be in practice or the game. So again, this is my Senior Bowl recap, man. Thank you guys for checking out the pod. This is your host, Cody Potter. I hope you guys have a blessed week. Stay safe out there and try to keep warm. It's cold. So, again, man, have a blessed week. Thank you guys. Tuning out.